How well do you really know your IRA? Hi, I'm Rob West. An individual retirement account can be a helpful tool for long-term saving, but like any financial tool, it needs to be understood and used wisely. Today, we'll walk through a few common misunderstandings and maybe clear up some confusion along the way. Then we'll take your calls at 800-525-7000. This is Faith and Finance Live, biblical wisdom for your financial decisions. Proverbs 18:15 says, "An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge." That's a good word for every area of life, including how we manage money. As stewards, we don't want to make financial decisions simply because an account is popular or because someone told us we ought to have one. We want to understand the tools available to us and use them in ways that reflect wisdom, patience, and trust in the Lord. So today, let's take a short IRA pop quiz. Don't worry, no grades, no pressure, just a few true or false questions to help us think more clearly. Question number 1. You can contribute to an IRA even if you already have a retirement plan through your employer. True or false? That one's true. You can contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA even if you also participate in a 401k, 403b, or other workplace plan. In 2026, the total amount you can contribute to all of your traditional and Roth IRAs combined is $7,500 or $8,600 if you're age 50 or older. Now, you'll need enough taxable compensation to support your contribution, and income limits may affect whether you can deduct a traditional IRA contribution or contribute directly to a Roth. So, yes, you can have both, but know the rules before you contribute. All right, question number 2. An IRA is an account that holds investments, not an investment by itself. True or false? That one's also true. An IRA is more like a container. Inside that account, you may have mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, bonds, money market funds, or other options, depending on what your custodian makes available. That distinction matters. Sometimes people say, well, I bought an IRA, when what they really mean is, I opened an IRA and invested the money. The IRA is the account. The investments inside the account determine how the money is actually working. And there are limits. IRA funds generally cannot be invested in life insurance or collectibles. Certain precious metals may be allowed if they meet specific IRS requirements and are held properly. Something called self-directed IRAs can open the door to more specialized investments, but they also come with added complexity and risk. All right, let's get to question number 3. Your will determines who receives your IRA, regardless of the beneficiary listed on the account. True or false? That one's false. Like many financial accounts, an IRA allows you to name beneficiaries. When you die, those beneficiaries generally receive the account directly outside probate. And in most cases, the beneficiary designation controls, even if your will says something different. That's why it's important to review your beneficiaries after major life changes, marriage, divorce, the death of a spouse, or the birth of a child. Stewardship includes making your intentions clear. Question number 4. Traditional IRAs are subject to required minimum distributions. True or false? Well, that one's true. Traditional IRAs are subject to required minimum distributions, or RMDs. In general, you must begin taking them by April 1st of the year after the year you turn 73. After that first year, annual RMDs are typically due by December 31st. If you don't take the required amount, the penalty can be 25% of the amount not withdrawn, though it may be reduced to 10% if corrected in time. Roth IRAs are different. They don't require distributions during the original owner's lifetime. Contributions are made with after-tax dollars, and qualified withdrawals may be tax-free later. But remember, retirement accounts are tools, not ultimate security. Our hope is not in an IRA, a pension, a 401k, or a balance sheet. Our hope is in Christ. All right, well, how did you do? The goal isn't to become a retirement expert overnight. The goal is to grow in wisdom. An IRA may be one piece of a wise financial plan, but the deeper question is always this: am I using what God has entrusted to me in a way that reflects faithfulness, generosity, and eternal priorities? By the way, if you want to explore all of that further, check out my new devotional, Our Ultimate Treasure, a 21-day journey to faithful stewardship when you visit faithfi.com/shop. Your calls are next, 800-525-7000. We'll be right back.
The opinions offered during this program represent the personal or professional opinions of the participants given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace advice from a financial, medical, legal, or other professional who understands your specific situation.
Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob Last. Well, we started today by talking about IRAs, and hopefully you found yourself getting some of those right. I realize it can be confusing as all of the financial jargon kind of piles up, and we try to navigate our way through it. Our hope today is that you'd take a few things away from IRAs because they are so common. One of the key tools that is available through an IRA, I talk about it a lot, but I don't want you to miss it if you happen to be 70 and a half or older, and it's a qualified charitable distribution. And this allows you to take money that was put in pre-tax, right? Because a contribution to a traditional IRA or 401k is excluded from your taxable income in the year of the contribution. So you didn't pay tax on the money that you put in. And then it grows tax deferred, meaning as you buy and sell investments inside the IRA, the taxes don't place a drag on the investment results. And then the IRS typically gets paid as you take it out. It gets added to your taxable income in that retirement season of life after 59 and a half. Now, there is one way to get it out and never pay any tax on it, and that's through a qualified charitable distribution, another set of letters, QCD. And that's where it goes straight from your IRA, not to you as a distribution, but directly to a 501c3 ministry like Moody Bible Institute or Moody Radio. And when you do that, and when you go directly from the IRA to a 501c3 ministry, you never pay any tax on it. An incredible opportunity for you to take a portion of what has been growing tax deferred and went in tax free and have no tax coming out as you make a charitable gift. And so if you'd like to know more about what that looks like, perhaps you're excited as we've been celebrating our 100th birthday here at Moody Radio about the next 100 years and Moody Global Media and the global campus that's being created and Moody Aviation and training the next generation of aviators to take the gospel to the ends of the earth, not to mention Moody Bible Institute and the training of the next generation of pastors and missionaries and Bible teachers. If you'd like to support that out of your IRA, what God has entrusted to you, and do it in a tax-efficient manner, the team at Moody Stewardship would love to come alongside you to explain how that works and get it all set up. Just head to moodystewardship.org to learn more. You can also contact the team through that website, and they'll get right back to you. Again, that website, moodystewardship.org. All right, we're going to begin taking your calls and questions today, and we would love to hear from you. Whatever's on your mind as you navigate your financial life, the number to call is 800-525-7000. Again, that's 800-525-7000. You can call right now. Let's begin in Illinois today. Charnay, how can I help?
Hi, Rob.
Hi, thanks for calling.
Yeah. So I have a question. My husband is in a nursing home right now. He's been there for 4 years. I do draw my Social Security, and now he gets – mine was bigger than his, so now he gets that, and that goes, of course, to the nursing home. I was told by someone that once I retire, if I bring home over $4,000 a month, that I would have to start doing a spend down, and I would have to contribute to his monies to pay for his stay at the nursing home. I don't know if that's true. And the second part of the question is, can I take some of my 401k now and put it towards my mortgage to offset how much I would have to give to the nursing home? Because he's on Medicare, Medicaid now.
Got it. Yeah, great question. So it sounds like you're referring to what's referred to as a Medicaid spend down. And essentially, it's really going to depend on whether your husband is on Medicaid or paying privately and what state you live in, because rules vary by state. Is he actually on Medicaid, or is he paying for the nursing home privately?
No, they just get his Social Security check.
Okay. Yeah, so that's going directly to the nursing home, correct?
Yeah. So he's not private pay. No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think the key there is, if he's if he's in a nursing home on Medicaid and his Social Security check is already being paid to the nursing home, which is generally how Medicaid works, then you're allowed to keep your own income. So your retirement income is not automatically required to be paid to the nursing home simply because your husband is on Medicaid. His income, Social Security and pension, is applied toward the cost of the care. That's the way that works after certain permitted deductions. There are special spousal impoverishment protections that allow a living spouse, you at home, to retain certain income and assets. But regarding your question about the money from the 401k, I would get some professional advice on that. A 401k withdrawal could create taxable income that could affect that Medicaid eligibility. Paying down the mortgage, I love that idea generally, but you would want to talk to an elder care attorney because, again, those rules do vary by state. So I'd probably get some counsel on this before you do anything, because what you would not want is for you to do something that inadvertently jeopardizes that government assistance that's coming through Medicaid, anything remaining after, they get his Social Security. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Now, we was estranged, but we're still married when he went into the nursing home 4 years ago, and I don't think that has no bearing because legally we are still married.
Yes, exactly right. Okay. So if you are still legally married, then Medicaid is going to treat you as spouses, even if you're living apart. But I would say the exact rules and whether your income or assets are considered are going to depend on, the Illinois Medicaid regulations and the circumstances of the separation. So again, I think, you're going to want to check with somebody who can advise you on that professionally.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Charnay. Call anytime if I can help, and we appreciate you being on the program today. Well, the number to call today, 800-525-7000. We're going to hit a break here in just a moment, but when we come back, we'll get to many more questions. The calls are coming in, but we do have lines open at the moment. So if there's something you're wrestling with in your financial life, we'd love for you to call right now. Again, that number, 800-525-7000. Let me mention before we head into this break, on the last day of July, this is the first month of our new year here at FaithFi, and you always like to start the year strong. We're slightly behind for this first month, so let me just encourage you, if you love the program as a listener-supported ministry, we'd love to invite you to make a gift. Perhaps it's a one-time gift when you go to faithfi.com/give, or maybe you want to become a partner. Partners are a key part of making this ministry possible on a daily basis. They support us either monthly at $35 a month or annually at least $400 per year. And as a way of saying thanks and just to provide some further equipping and encouragement, we send you all of our resources. 4 issues of our magazine, Faithful Steward, all of our studies and devotionals, including the new one that we're publishing from Randy Alcorn at the start of the year, our new field guides, they get mailed to you, and a quarterly newsletter from the ministry, from me, so you can hear what God is doing through FaithFi. If you'd like to be a part of that, even today before the end of July, just go to faithfi.com/give. We'll be right back. I'm so glad you're with us today on Faith and Finance Live. We're taking your calls and questions, and guess what? Every line full. So let's get right back to the phones. We'll get to as many as we can between now and the end of the broadcast. Out to Indiana. Jennifer, go right ahead.
Hi, yes, thank you for taking my call. I am a single mom, and I've been working a lot of overtime to try to make extra money to get myself in the best financial position as possible. And I'm really close to having 6 months savings in my emergency fund. And the way I'm trending, I'm going to continue to work a lot of overtime. Fortunately, I work at home, so I can just put in lots of hours. And
Yes.
I want to know where the best place is for me to put my money once I've built that emergency fund up to 6 months.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It sure does. And listen, I've worked with enough single parents to know how challenging that is to manage the family and the finances and just the weight that you're carrying. And so, well done. I realize you're working hard, but it sounds like you're getting your financial house in order. And I love the fact that you're approaching this 6-month mark on emergency savings. That's a tremendous accomplishment, Jennifer. So well done. Once that's fully in place and, you're looking at trying to put that overtime income toward your long-term future, I would look for an opportunity to sock that away. Are you self-employed, or do you have a 401k or retirement plan at work?
No, so I have a 401k plan at work. I contribute 15%, and I get matching. I think it's 3 or 5% matching. I have a high yield savings, and I automatically transfer $250 a week from my checking into my savings. I have a high yield savings for my last child, who's a junior in high school. So we've got 2 more years at home. I take my child support and actually put it into their high yield savings, which my ex-husband is perfectly fine with. He wants us to save as much as we can. And and the only debt that I have is my house. I'm 60 and my house has 10 more years on it. So if I just pay my payments, I'll have it paid off at 70. And that's when I'm hoping to at least retire from my full-time job. I may do something else that I enjoy. So I've gotten myself in a place where all of the money coming in, I can use as needed. I mean, I do have my son in a Christian school, so I pay tuition, and he plays sports, so I pay for that, but I don't have any consumer debt. And so I've been working I work 40 hours a week, and I've been putting in an extra 20 every week of overtime. So I have a lot extra coming in, and it's going to stay that way probably through the end of the year.
Wow. Amazing, Jennifer. I mean, that's incredible, all these things you're doing. How much have you accumulated in that 401k, putting in 15% plus the matching?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I was not able to start my 401k until very, very late because I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. So right now I have about $60,000 in it, and I have it on a fairly conservative track. I spoke with my it's through Fidelity, and I spoke with them recently, and they put me on the right track for my planned retirement. And they estimate when I retire, I might have $250,000 in it. Yeah. And it was funny because he said, well, we estimate you're going to need $5,000 a month, and so it'll last this long. And I said, that estimate might be for most people, but I don't even spend that now, and I'm raising a child. I just don't. Yeah. I live a really frugal life. We have 2 used cars that are paid for. I've lived in my house for a long time. I don't plan to move, so I just don't really spend money. So I'm just doing, because I'm coming from behind, I'm just doing the best I can. I just don't know if I should put it towards the mortgage or if I should continue putting it into the high yield savings emergency fund. I just don't know where the right place is to put it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you said you've accumulated how much in that savings at this point?
In the savings, I'm almost to 6 months, so it's got about $7,000 in it right now.
Okay.
But I'm putting $250 a week in it, so it's not going to take very long to get there.
Yeah. No, that's great. And what's the balance on the mortgage?
I think the balance is about $80,000, and the house is worth about $280,000.
All right. And what is the interest rate? Do you know?
I think it's 3.75.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And what are you getting on that high yield savings right now?
That's a great question. Maybe around 4%. I haven't checked it lately.
Yeah. That would be great if you are. I mean, that would be a very good rate. So listen, again, you're doing fabulous. I love this plan here. I think, one of the things you're going to want to do is look at what your monthly income need will be when you get to retirement, once you're no longer working. And so you're going to want to see, are you going to take your ex-husband's spousal IRA, or not IRA, spousal Social Security benefit, or are you going to take your own? If you've been working, most of your adult life, then you're probably going to want to take your own because you could only get half of his benefit. By waiting until age 70 to take that, that's going to be get that check up 25% higher than what it would be. Do you know what that number is going to be? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, I have gone onto the Social Security website, and it looks like it'll be a little bit over $3,000 a month, which that's pretty good, because if my house is paid off and I don't spend much money, I could live on that. Now, I don't know what my medical needs will be when I'm 70.
Sure. Yeah.
I just want to direct my money to the right place.
Yeah. Well, I would say, let's start putting it, now that you've got the 6 months, let's open a Roth IRA at Fidelity and fund that with that $250 a week. And when you get to the max of that, which will be, if you're 50 or older, $8,600, at least for 2026, then I would just continue to bump up your 401k. Let's do this. I'm up against a break, but I want to just kind of review. This has all been really helpful information. I've been taking notes. So I just want to review your next steps right after this break. So you stay right there. I'll come right back to you. And then Leslie, Mary, Susie coming your way as well. This is Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. We have just a couple of lines open at 800-525-7000. Before the break, we were talking to Jennifer in Indiana. She's a hardworking single mom. She has been working 60 hours a week, taking that extra 20 hours a week of overtime pay to be able to sock away some money, about $250 a week, $1,000 a month on average. And she's debt-free except her home. She is fully funding at least 15% of her pay plus matching her 401k. She's about to hit the 6-month mark on her emergency savings, and she's funding Christian education for her son. I mean, she's doing a lot of great things here, and just wondering how she should direct that $250 a week now that she's fully funded on the emergency fund. So here would be the steps I would be thinking about just based on what I've heard here today, Jennifer. Number one, check that savings interest and make sure it is comparable. If it's at 4% or higher, you're in good shape. If not, there are 4% savings accounts out there. And for instance, our friends at Adelphi Christian Banking are offering 4% in their money market right now. So that option is possible. If it is a good rate, leave it right there. I would stop funding the savings and then redirect that $1,000 a month into a Roth IRA, also at Fidelity, who has your other account. And, you could just get that into a similar type investment strategy as your 401k with maybe a target date fund. You'll be able to put in $8,600. If you get to the limit on that in any year, you wouldn't this year just because there's not enough months left at $1,000 a month for you to get over $8,600. But if you did, then I would bump up your 401k. You can put between age 50 and 59, you can put in $32,500 in a 401k. So even though you're doing 15%, because you're trying to catch up, you could do more. The only other options would be, college savings, depending on what you've decided there. I know you are saving for your kids, but if you need more, that would be an option. Although the nice thing with the Roth is you can always get back those original contributions at any time because it's after-tax money. You can't get back any gains, but you can get back your original contributions if you wanted to use that for college. You could look at a long-term care insurance policy. I know you said you were concerned about just what would happen if you needed care down the road, and that would be something you could take a look at. They're not cheap, but neither is, nursing care if you needed it down the road. And so you could look at that. I'd go to ltcconsumer.com to explore that if you wanted to check it out. And then the last thing I'll say is you may want to look at bumping out maybe 5 years the target date for your retirement for that investment account. Those investment target date funds tend to be a little more conservative than I would rather you be, just because once you hit retirement at 70, you still need that money to last 20 or 30 years if you're in good health. And so, I would say if you're planning on, retiring, I'll just pick a date in 2030, I might look at a 2035 target date fund just to be slightly more aggressive. But let me stop there. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, that is helpful. I actually am about to turn 60, so I thought I was too old to open a Roth, and I don't have
No,
any
there's no
college.
age limit
Okay.
for a Roth. As long as you have earned
Okay.
income, you can contribute
Okay.
to a Roth.
Yeah, and I don't have any savings for my son's college. Unfortunately, that's why I'm taking every bit of child support and putting it in a high yield savings account. But yes, that's very helpful. Thank you. That gives me some ideas.
Well, and if you open the Roth and fully fund that, like I say, the portion that is your original contributions can come back out at any time if you needed those for, college or something like that to help with the kids. So anyway, hopefully that gets you pointed in the right direction. Thanks for calling today, Jennifer. You're doing a fabulous job. Keep up the great work. Let's go to Naples. Leslie, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I do have a certified financial planner, and I have
Great.
a brokerage account with Fidelity. But about 6 years ago, he encouraged me to open a life insurance company called Bright House. And so that for 6 years, if I didn't touch it, it would continue to grow. So it just came to fruition in May of this year, and it did very well. And so his advice was, you have to take that out, withdraw it at this point. There are other things you could do with it, but you're going to withdraw it and it's going to come directly to your bank. So I did share it with some of my family. I have 2 sons, and I shared it with them. And then there was an excess of about $50,000. And the CFP suggested just putting it maybe into a savings account, because I had mentioned to him about perhaps getting another car in the near future, but that's not definite. I'm 73 years old. I have a Roth IRA. I own my own home. I own my own car presently. So the $50,000 is in a online Marcus Schwab account, and it's only getting 3.34%.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And what are you living on? What are your income sources?
Well, I have Social Security and also a security benefit that he took out for me many years ago. So I get a monthly income of $433, and the Social Security is $2,950. So it's about $4,383 a month.
Yeah.
And if I find that I'm needing a little extra, I go to the brokerage account, and I'll withdraw maybe $5,000, maybe 2 times a year.
Sure. What do you have in the brokerage account currently?
Well, it's over 800,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like this idea of taking the 50,000. Because you have quite a bit in your nest egg. You're living modestly. Your income is covered, apart from maybe a few extras a year. But you're not pulling anywhere near what you could pull out of that 800,000 and still, see it maintain its principal balance. You could probably pull 35,000 or more a year if you wanted to, but you're not, and so that's great. But I think keeping this liquid for that car purchase or whatever other short-term needs you have makes sense. Especially given the uncertainty around if you might be buying another car, and you'd likely want to do that with cash. So I would say, put it into a high yield savings. You can do better than 3.3. For instance, again, I mentioned a moment ago to our previous caller, our friends at Adelphi Christian Banking, the largest Christian banking credit union in the country, is paying 4% on their money market. You could check that out at faithfi.com/banking. And they're, for FaithFi listeners, adding up to $400 as a bonus when you open a new account. But, that type of thing, a 4% money market, whether it's there or a local credit union or some other option, could be a great move for you for this money, because, that's not an insignificant amount of money. I mean, that's $2,000 over the next 12 months. if you get that in a 4% money market. But I think in terms of the place, you can determine where to put it, but the strategy, I think, is right that's being recommended.
Okay, and then just quickly, you mentioned to the previous caller about the Roth IRA. So I do have a Roth IRA. I don't have a traditional IRA anymore. That was ended a while ago. So you did say that she could take something from her Roth IRA depending on what you initially put it in at.
Yeah, any of your original contributions can come out at any time because you've already paid the tax on them, so the IRS will let you take it out at any time. You just can't take more than what you put in because if you take any of the gains before 59 and a half, you're going to get penalized for that, and that account needs to be open at least 5 years before you can start pulling the gains tax-free. So, you can always get the original contributions. You can get the earnings after 5 years and 59 and a half years old. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We're going to head right back to the phones. We may have room for one more question in addition to those holding. So if you've got something on your mind, call right now, 800-525-7000. Let's go down to Tampa. Mary, go ahead.
Yes, this is a Social Security question I had.
Okay.
My husband died a while back, and I read somewhere if I decide to remarry, I can still receive his death benefits if it's less than I get married again. Is that true?
Yes. There's two different benefits to keep straight. There's the spousal benefit, which is paid while your spouse is living, and then the survivor benefit, which is paid after your spouse dies. So since you mentioned you're already receiving benefits based on your deceased husband's record, you're receiving a survivor benefit. So if you remarry before the age of 60, you generally lose eligibility for survivor benefits based on your deceased spouse's record. If you remarry after 60 or at 60 or older, you can generally continue receiving those benefits based on his record.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it wouldn't interfere with if I got married again and, my new husband, if I decide to get married again. I would still get my deceased husband's benefit.
That is correct. If you're 60 or older.
Yeah, I'm 66, so.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's exactly how it works. You would have the ability, because you're remarrying at 60 or later, to continue receiving those survivors' benefits. So you should be in pretty good shape.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your answer. Listen to you every day.
Well, thank you, Mary. Call
God
anytime.
bless you.
God bless you. Have a great weekend.
All right.
To Nashville, Tennessee. Hi, Lynn. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Just got a quick question about a couple of different investment things. I currently have a traditional IRA that I contribute to myself monthly, and I was wondering, I realized that it's going in after tax right now, so it's lowering my taxable income now, but when I have to start taking the RMDs, then I have to pay tax on all withdrawals. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, typically we would say that's called pre-tax, right? So you put it in, it gets excluded from your taxable income, so you don't pay tax on it. And then when it comes out, yes, it's added to your taxable income, as opposed to the Roth, where you get the income, you pay the tax on the full amount, and then you make the after-tax contribution, but it grows tax-free, and you never pay any tax on the gains when you pull it out.
So would it be more, I'm 63 now, I'm probably going to work another, 4-ish years. Can it be converted to a Roth, and would it be beneficial to me to convert it to a Roth?
Yeah. Yes, it absolutely could be converted to a Roth. It would mean that you're paying the taxes now versus later, because if we leave it in the traditional IRA, when you take it out in retirement at some point, maybe you convert it to an income stream or you start to pull it out as needed to supplement other income sources. Whenever you pull out in any given year would be added to your taxable income. If you convert it to a Roth, which you can do, it just means you're paying it now instead of later. Since you're working, though, and earning income, generally we would not see a lot of people doing that because while you're working, you're likely in a higher tax bracket than you may be after retirement when you're not working. And so what a lot of people do is between the age of, from the year they retire until their required minimum kicks in at 73, that's usually the period of time where they start converting to Roth because their income has dropped, so they're in a low bracket. And then we use a strategy called filling up the bracket. So, you could check with your CPA, or if you do your taxes yourself, you could take a look at this. But you would look each year and say, okay, how much more income can I have before I, go into the next bracket? And then you could convert that amount to Roth during that year. But the idea is you probably don't want to do it during the peak of your earning years because you're already in a higher bracket, and then adding more income on top of that through the conversion is usually counterproductive. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that makes perfect sense. And then my second part of my question is I have a 401k with a 4% match, but I'm contributing more than that. And when I look at the return amounts for the traditional IRA versus the 401k account, the traditional is earning better. So would it be wiser to contribute more into the traditional versus contributing additional into the 401k?
Yeah. Well, first of all, and I didn't hear you say this, but just to make sure you understand, you probably can't move any of that 401k money out until you separate from the company. At that point, you could roll it to an IRA. But if you're still working, it's called an in-service distribution. And even, generally the plan administrators don't allow that. So, yeah, I think the question is, do you prioritize the 401k or do you prioritize the traditional IRA? Well, remember, the 401k and the IRA are just the account type, which is different than the investments. So it just so happens that the investments that have been selected for the IRA are outperforming the 401k. So I think the first thing to do would be to go back to the 401k and say, why are those investments not performing well? And do you need to make a change and perhaps, change the allocation inside that 401k? Maybe you're too conservative. Maybe you have too much in bonds. Maybe you're in a certain classification of stock that's not been performing as well as maybe what you have in your IRA. So I would say maybe you look at tweaking that first, but as long as you're maximizing any match available through the 401k, I don't have any problem with you, funding the IRA first. It's just that you're likely going to hit the ceiling on the contribution limit for the year much quicker because 50 or older, it's only $8,600. Per year with a 401k, whereas between age 50 and 59, you can put in $32,500 for 2026 in a 401k. So you've just got quite a bit more room there for contributions.
Okay. My question was that I'm putting into the 401k above the 4% match.
Okay,
and I was
great.
just thinking, is it putting more into the IRA instead of putting the extra into the 401k?
Yeah.
So
and I'm not opposed to that at all because you're getting your 4% match. So you certainly could, start to prioritize the IRA instead. I'm just saying let's back up. And if the 401k is not performing as well as the IRA, I want to know why. And so I want you to go take a look at those investments or get somebody at the plan administrator to help you evaluate what you've got to see if you don't need to make a change. But separate from that, yes, I have no problem with you starting to put anything above the match into the IRA. But remember, in the IRA, the contribution limit for somebody 50 and older is only $8,600 for the year. So you're probably going to get to the contribution limit, which at that point you'd have to then go back to the 401k and start putting more there.
Okay, gotcha. That makes perfect sense.
Excellent. Hey, Lynn, thanks for your call today. Call anytime if I can help. Let's go to Indianapolis. Hey, Mike, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for asking the call real estate question this afternoon. So me and two other individual friends bought a piece of farm ground on speculative investment, just hoping for a good thing. And some 12, 13 years later, one of the partners, not me, fortunately, seems to have some IRS issues, to put it briefly or bluntly, I guess, not where you want to be. Yeah. I'm kind of curious what implications that might have, or other than on that piece of property, for the other two of us that are invested on it.
Yeah, generally one partner's IRS problem doesn't become the other partner's personal tax problems, but it can affect the business depending on how it's owned. So is the property owned through a partnership or an LLC or a corporation? How did you set that up?
Just joint tenants in common. Probably should have had an operating agreement. In hindsight, we didn't, but that may be better at this point that we didn't address that. Just joint tenants in common. Okay.
And is it related? Is the IRS issue personal, or does it involve the business?
I'm not sure of that, to be honest.
Okay.
He does own businesses, and he does own businesses, but I'm not sure where the issue lies.
Okay. And do you know if the IRS has filed a tax lien?
Not on this piece of property, but maybe some of his other assets. And if go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's great. So as far as you know, there's nothing on this property that's been filed. So since you own the property as tenants in common, each of you owns your own separate interest in the property. So generally speaking, if one co-owner has a personal IRS problem, the IRS can't simply take the other owner's interests. However, if that owner's tax debt becomes serious, the IRS could place a lien on that property, that person's ownership interest, and potentially seek to enforce its rights against that interest. Now, that doesn't automatically, affect your ownership, but the problem would come in as if it complicated a future sale or refinancing at that point. So, the IRS does have plenty of collection tools, and if a federal tax lien, is filed against the owner's interest, they could seek to, it's going to be rare, but they could seek to force the sale even of jointly owned property. And so it's going to be important that gets addressed sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Thanks for the answer.
All right. Yep. We appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for calling. Hey, Joy, I apologize we didn't get to your question today. Let's see if we can get you scheduled to be first up next week. I'd love to chat with you about your question on nursing home insurance. Hey, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Listen, on this last day of July, if you want to support Faith and Finance, a listener-supported ministry, we'd certainly be grateful. A gift one time or monthly, faithfi.com/give. Big thanks to my team today, Dan, Tahira, Josh, and everybody here at FaithFi. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.